30th of November. This week I start the news with some distressing news. Last week in Acapulco, Alan Wicks, one of our public room stewards, and Martin Gray were attacked while walking along the beach in Acapulco. During the attack, Alan was stabbed in the chest and left on the ground. After this, Martin had to take Alan back to a local hotel where he got a taxi and brought him back to the ship. Frank, our surgeon, was on the scene straight away and examined him in the taxi and decided to take him to a hospital in Acapulco. To continue this story, we take you back a few days to when I interviewed Frank and Alan in the ship's hospital.
John, good evening.
Channel 4 News is normally a light-hearted thing, and this is serious. First of all, how is Alan now?
Extraordinarily well. He's doing very well indeed. He's making a very gratifying recovery.
Okay, we're all very shocked. We'll talk to Alan in a few minutes. Basically what happened, he was involved in a fight, and there was four guys, was there?
Well, as far as I know, Alan and Martin Gray were walking home along the beach in Acapulco when they were jumped by 5 or 6 guys who wanted some money. The boys put up a spirited resistance, and at one stage Alan was held down by 2 of them, while a third one stabbed him in the chest. To my mind, there's no doubt that they intended to kill him.
Okay, so he was actually walking back on the beach when this happened?
Right, I believe that's the case.
Okay, now we don't want to go into the details of actually, but you're saying that the knife wound, if it had been a few inches the other way, then the situation could have been tragic.
Well, Alan is, as Manchester Mick would say, lucky, 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 lucky Alan, because had that knife gone at least 1 centimetre more in either direction, he wouldn't be here now. It would have gone straight through the heart. As it was, it hit the breastbone, which absorbed a lot of the impact and effectively saved his life.
Now, Frank, what actually happened after the event? Did Alan go to a local hospital, or did he come straight back to the ship?
Well, full marks to Martin, because Martin got him from the beach to the local hotel, where, as usual in Mexico, people were not too helpful. He then put him into a taxi and brought him back to the ship. I had a look at him in the taxi. I could see the puncture mark in his chest. Nowhere am I doing open-heart surgery on the Sun Princess. So we got him to the nearest local hospital, which was the Acapulco General, where he was seen and treated.
Okay, so anyway, we're now going to see Alan and see how he is. So thank you, Frank. And it's nice to see you on Channel 4 News.
It's wonderful to make my debut.
Alan, here you are in the hospital. We know you're okay now, so how do you feel?
Well, thanks to the surgeon's fantastic job, I feel really good, and can't believe just how lucky I am, and also Sylvia, who's been marvellous, helping me recover. So.
And it must have been a very dramatic experience. Did you have any aftershock after you realised what had happened to you? Did any shock come on after the event?
Well, fortunately at the time, I don't think I realised just how serious it was. I knew that I just couldn't move, and I think Martin just had to drag me back to the hotel. And it wasn't until I got to the hospital in Mexico, and I couldn't move, and I felt throbbing absolutely everywhere, that I knew things were pretty bad. But as I say, it's just one of those things, and very lucky to be here now.
Now, I say we don't want to go into the details, but when the guys came towards you, did they jump you, and did they say anything like, we want your money, hand it over, or did they just start fighting?
Well, they seemed to appear pretty quick out of nowhere, and they asked for money, and there's no way I was going to give it over without, first of all refusing, and having refused, well, that was it. They just attacked.
Okay, and it's pretty obvious, if I say to you, what advice would you give to people in Acapulco? You'd give them advice, but in a few words, what would you recommend for people to do when they're ashore at night?
Well, just not to walk along a beach. I mean, I would have assumed 2 people would be safe. I certainly wouldn't have walked along a beach by myself, but 2 I would think to be safe, but obviously this proves that 2 aren't safe at all.
Anyway, Alan, thank you very much for giving us this very exclusive interview, because I was, to be quite honest with you, I was surprised when you said you would like to go ahead with this, because, you know, someone has been stabbed in a situation like you are. You're going to go home on Saturday. Captain Crichton left the ship last week in Acapulco, but on the Thursday before we got to Acapulco, he had a mooring deck party to celebrate the end of his return to the Sun Princess, and Channel 4 cameras were there. In Acapulco as well. Well, we're down here on the mooring deck, and it's Captain Crichton's farewell party, and we're very lucky to have a very exclusive interview today. Captain, thank you for being on Channel 4, and Tony Martin's here, the cruise director as well. And we're just wondering how you feel at the last, your first trip back in a long time. How's it been, and is the ship the same as it used to be?
Yeah, that's what I've always loved about this ship, that you had to be mad to work here in the first place. But I think, you know, right when we got this ship off the ground back in 1973, we're probably the most evil bunch of gangsters ever brought together in one ship. And although they seem to have changed a bit, there are still some of us left who are still just as evil as they ever were. Not we, they. And I love it in this ship, mate. I couldn't have been happier to come back here. Really was. Absolutely delighted.
Tony, am I right in saying that you were with Captain Crichton back in the early days of the Spirit of London?
Yes, in 1973. Captain McGowan first took the ship out when she started her maiden voyage in November 1972. When I joined the ship in September 73, then Captain Crichton was master and Captain Clark was deputy captain, and Brian Langston Carter, now director of entertainment, was the cruise director. I was a deputy, and Cliff Ferry was the stage manager, assistant cruise director. That was way back in 73, when of course it was the Spirit of London.
And that was about as bad a bunch as you could find anywhere. I know I got so much on him, it doesn't matter.
Anyway, Captain Crichton, from Channel 4 viewers, needless to say, we've enjoyed your return, and we're looking forward to you coming back. You back just after Christmas, is it?
And on January the 10th, I think I rejoined down in San Juan. And I would just like to say to all the Channel 4 viewers, thanks very much for keeping this ship just as ever was. When we changed the name to the Spirit of London, from the Spirit of London rather, they presented me with a mug on which it said, you can change the name, but you can't change the spirit. And that was absolutely dead right.
Okay, thanks a lot. And Tony, you leave on Friday as well? Are you off back to LA for 2 months?
Yeah, I'm leaving tomorrow, John. I'm going to fly back to Los Angeles. I'm going home for Christmas to London, though. I'll be back sometime about, I think, January 24, rejoin the Caribbean. I'd like to add to the Captain Crichton's word, you know, that the Sun always was and always will be a very special ship with a special splash of magic that she's always had, and no one quite knows what it really is. I don't think it's necessary for anyone to really know what it is, but whatever it is, the others don't have it. That's the Sun.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for letting us have this special interview today.
Thanks, John.
Thanks a lot. Okay. Bingo last week. A very unusual presentation was made to